I've taken over 100 classes on italki over the past year and some change. That's a lot of classes. 안녕하세, you. 안녕하세요, hey you. It's Natalia, and guys, it has officially been 5.5 years that I have been learning Korean, and it's been a year since the last time I gave you a Korean language progress update, so I'm here today to share a report of how much my Korean skills have been improving or have improved over the past year. And guys, I won't lie, I cannot lie. All the progress that I have seen in my skills have been thanks to my Korean teachers that I have been taking classes with for the past year. Yeah, through italki, aka the sponsor of today's video. If you're new to this channel or you don't watch this channel regularly, please allow me to give you some context, some background information. Italki is a global online language learning platform that connects teachers and students for one-on-one, online, personalized language lessons. So there are actually over 130 languages that you can learn through italki, but I use italki to advance my Korean because it could use some help. But anyway, italki is currently celebrating their 14th anniversary by giving out $140 italki credit and coupon packages, both to new, like you're signing up today, and existing, like me, users. So I highly encourage you to check out the link in my description box to see what you need to do to get your hands on one of these packages. Yes. Now, I personally started taking classes with italki last year when I was preparing for the topic 2 or the test of proficiency in Korean, intermediate through advanced. And guys, it has officially been 16 months now that I have been taking classes regularly through italki. I've seen so much growth, like so much growth. So today I would like to share with you what my 선생님들 and I have been doing to get me to this point right here, right now. Let's go ahead and jump into the video. Go. So let's start out by talking about the skill that I think has improved the most, which is really exciting. And that skill is my speaking. Yes, my Korean speaking skills. Oh my gosh, they have grown so much over the past year. Like, okay, between the time that I left Korea, right, so 2016, and now, or not now, but like when I started taking Korean classes regularly through italki, like that 3.5 year span, I was self-studying Korean. And don't get me wrong, I love self-studying Korean, but when you self-study a language, we all know that you have to put in an extra effort, like an extra conscious effort to practice your speaking skills, just so they can like improve at the same rate as your other skills. And for me, while yes, I was doing like online and in-person language exchanges, and while yes, I was talking to my Korean friends like in Korean regularly, like it wasn't enough to advance those skills as fast as my reading skills or as fast as like all the other skills pretty much. So when I started taking those topic prep classes and I was seeing how much my writing skills were improving, I had this grand idea where I was like, what if I take general Korean classes on top of my topic classes? Because if I do that, I can advance all the skills because I'm greedy. I want to be good at all the Korean skills. So I started taking like general Korean classes about 1 to 2 times a week with that same teacher because guys, I really like that teacher. Like I still take classes with her on a regular basis, but like I really liked her teaching style and I liked her personality and I felt like we were a very good match, I guess. And I want to say after maybe 2 to 3 months of taking classes with her every week, I could really feel how my speaking was getting better. Like I could feel that I was able to get things out more quickly. I didn't have to like think as much. I could feel that I was making longer sentences with more varied grammar and vocabulary. I could feel that my pronunciation was getting better. Not like leaps and strides and now I sound like a native, but like it was getting better little by little, and that was very, very exciting for me. And if you're curious, my 선생님 and I are using these books to work or study together. So these are the 서울대 한국어 level 4 books. We use these because my 선생님 says that the dialogues and the example sentences used in these books are very, very natural. However, if you have just like a specific textbook that you have been self-studying with that you would now like to work with or work through with a teacher, you can just like message an italki teacher and ask them if they would be willing to teach you using that specific book because I found that all my Korean teachers, they all have a set of books that they are willing to teach from. So for example, this Songseung-nim, she prefers these textbooks, but she can also teach you with Ihwa and she can teach you with Yonsei. So if there are teachers that you are interested in booking a class with, just send them a message, send them an inquiry being like, hi, what's up? No, I'm just kidding, don't say it like that. But like, you can just send them a message and they'll let you know right away. Anyway, going back to speaking Korean, Natalia, at the beginning of this calendar year or in January of 2021, I actually decided to take on another Sonsing-nim from italki, one who would specifically work with me to develop my like academic Korean speaking skills. So while I was working with one Sonsing-nim to do everyday Korean, I would have another just to help me develop my discussion skills. And then y'all are gonna judge me. I also decided to take on a community tutor from italki, so someone that I would just meet with for free talk sessions because I'm planning to move to Korea later this year and I want to be as fluent in my Korean speaking skills as I can possibly be. So my speaking teacher and I actually use news articles of my choice as a basis for discussion. So far we have talked about racial discrimination in Korea, stalking crimes in Korea, gun-related violence rates in the US of A, and more. And honestly, our discussions have been really insightful. So in addition to just like helping me get better at my speaking skills, I've learned a lot about Korean society and Korean culture through our discussions. I just enjoy like hearing her point of view and like hearing her explanations on why she thinks something is a certain way in Korea. And with my community tutor, we actually both come with news articles as like a starting point for our free talk discussions. I am so happy with the amount of growth I have seen in my Korean speaking skills over the past year, and I'm very, very excited to see where they will be or how much better they can get before I move to Korea. Now, I kind of failed to mention this in the speaking portion of this video, but all of my Korean classes are taught in full Korean. So while yes, there are definitely a few times where I say something in English so that my Korean teacher can help me express that idea in Korean so that my sentence means what I would like it to mean. I want to say 95% of the time, they're in full Korean. If you're a beginner, don't worry, just look for a Korean teacher that also speaks English, and more than likely they will teach you in English, especially if you ask them to teach you in English. All of my Korean teachers have asked me with my first lesson, do you want me to only speak to you in Korean or do you want this class to be in English? But anyway, are you ready for this? So last year, like in my last progress update, I think I said I only understood like 60 or 70% of the Korean, like just the dialogue, no pictures helping giving hints. Like if I would watch like a romance or everyday life Korean drama, I was only understanding that 60-70% if I just listened, like, which is not bad. It's not bad. But guys, okay, I did not realize that my Korean listening skills had improved so much until 2 months ago. Like, I don't really watch K-dramas, and I have said that so many times on this channel. However, 2 months ago, I randomly decided, Natalia, why don't we watch an episode of a random K-drama while we eat lunch? You know, listening practice. I hit play, and I'm watching this drama with no subs because that's how I try to do listening exercises. No subs, no like transcript, no anything. So I'm watching, and I'm like, something's fishy here. And it was fishy because I understood everything that was going on. Oh my god. I was literally like, this is gonna sound so silly, but the actor and actresses would talk and I just immediately knew what they were saying. There was no processing time. There was no like, oh, I think this word means this. I was like, no, I understood everything. And I was like, am I living in a simulation? Did somebody pay for an upgrade package on my Korean comprehension? Like, what? Oh my god, I felt so happy. And then I don't watch K-drama self binge watched a ton of K-dramas, like 4 or 5 different shows. And while some of you might not think that's a lot for me, because usually within 1 calendar year, I only watch like 1 drama, maybe 2, because I just don't. Now, among all this excitement, I must say, another thing I mentioned in my last like Korean update was that crime shows or industry specific shows like medical dramas or law shows and stuff like that, I don't remember what the percentage was, but I said it was a lot lower than that 60-70% for like everyday Korean dramas, which again, that makes sense because it's very technical vocabulary. Like sometimes those dramas, they even have definitions in Korean for the Koreans because the Koreans don't know those words either. So I did not feel bad about that. However, because I have been like reading or studying news articles with my speaking teacher and my community tutor, I actually understand so much more of those dramas now. Like, oh my goodness, I recently watched Law School on Netflix. It's like a crime and law show, which means there was a lot of like industry specific vocabulary and expressions in it. And guys, I could understand so much of it without subtitles. Obviously, not the whole thing like the dramas that I was talking about just a moment ago, but like so much. So much. Now, I won't lie, there are some words that I learned specifically through law school that I like wrote down because I thought they were cool or interesting, and I reviewed them, and then I would go back and I'd watch some of the scenes that had a lot of those words so that I could like hear them the next time they were used. But even still, like having done that, like now when I watch it, I understand so much more. And I won't put a percentage on it because each show is different for these like technical shows, but like my Korean reading skills saw so much improvement over the first few months since the last time I gave a progress update. So let's say like July through mid-November, I saw a lot of growth, and that's because I was preparing for the topic 2. So there's a reading section on that exam. I needed to do well. So I was doing so much reading. My main resources for those like 5.5 months-ish were this book, which I mentioned this in my last progress update. It's Yonsei University's like Korean reading for university students, Intermediate 1. So I finished this book and I reviewed it last summer, so I'll put the review in the cards if you're interested in it. But I used this book a lot and I loved it. I think it helped me really improve my Korean reading skills on a variety of topics, not just on like specific topics. The other book that I was using at that time, and I also mentioned in my last progress update, was this one, so 세대차이 or Generation Gap. This book is, I would say, beginner topic 4 level and above. So I really like this book. I am still working with this book. But yeah, I've learned so much academic vocabulary from these two books. Now from January to now, my Korean reading skills have improved. I mean, I have been reading Korean news articles and they've gotten easier, but I have not been reading as much as I was when I was preparing for the topic. So I haven't seen as much growth in this particular skill over the past 6 months. But now that I am getting back into reading Korean and practicing my Korean reading skills, there are some resources that I would like to share with you. So the first resource I would like to share is one that I've actually started working with like 2 weeks ago-ish is probably when I started working with it, but it is Talk to Me in Korean's News in Korean. So this book has been on my shelf for the past 1.5 years and I'm barely getting to it. I would say it's probably like topic 4 level. But the thing that makes it topic 4 is the vocabulary. So if you are someone who's in topic 3 or like low intermediate, but you know a lot of vocabulary, you can start studying with this book if you're really interested in studying with this book. And then I have this book I would like to work with, which this book is not to be confused with this book. So this one was Intermediate 1, this one's Intermediate 2. And guys, I can tell you right now, there is such a jump from this book to this book. This book is so hard. I am ready to pick it up again, and hopefully, given all the vocab that I have learned from my 선생님, it will not be as challenging, but we will see. Please stay tuned. Okay, so I know we've already talked about writing a little bit in this video, but I would like to expand on that thought and share how I'm currently improving my writing skills. So when I was preparing for the TOPIK, like I said, I was taking TOPIK prep classes that were specifically for improving my essay writing in Korean. And I would like to say, in my last progress update, I literally said, like, I have no confidence in my Korean, like, essay writing skills. So I'm happy to say, hey, a year later, I have improved so much. So I actually recently started writing essays with my speaking teacher. Yes, you heard that correctly. My speaking classes are no longer just speaking classes. They're actually speaking and writing classes. So those news articles that my teacher and I read together, yeah, after we've read them together and discussed them, I will write a summary of the article as well as like a reflection or like my opinions and thoughts on what I've read, and then we go over it together and she helps me correct my essay writing, you know, help me build them skills some more so that I don't forget everything that my other 선생님 helped me learn when I was preparing for the topic. OMG, okay guys, this is not related to essay writing, but just general writing in Korean. So I remember in my last video, I talked about how I had so much like confidence in my Korean texting skills, but guys, I have even more confidence now because one of my friends who I have been friends with like for the past 5 years, this is a friend that I met while studying abroad in Korea. This is a friend who refuses to give anybody compliments on their Korean. This person is always like, 한국어로 잘해야지, 너 공부해야 되지, 한국어로 언제 like 잘할 거야. They're not one of those people who will be like, 한국어로 잘하시네요. Like, no. So, the last time we talked, like they just kept going off on like, when did your Korean writing skills get this good? Which we talk every other month. So I don't know why they suddenly had this like, what is going on here? But it felt really good, especially because, like I said, they're that person that refuses to give compliments to foreign people who speak Korean. Okay, I'm sorry, but like, when they kept being really confused on like why my Korean had improved so much, my heart got all warm and I was like, I'm gonna tell my 선생님s. Basically, I am so happy with the growth that I've seen over the past year, and I'm excited to see where my Korean will be after another like 100-ish lessons on italki. Guys, I highly encourage you to check out the link in my description box. See what you need to do to get your hands on $140 worth of italki credits and coupons. See what you gotta do to get that package. But anyway, thank you to italki for sponsoring today's video, and thank you to all my Korean teachers for helping me get to this point in Korean and for supporting me. Oh my goodness. Okay, before I get all like teary-eyed or emotional or something, we should go. Anyway, I will see you guys in the next video. 다음에 봐요, guys. Bye.